So I want to change topic though for a second, because we thought it was nuts when the Andrews government, that's Dan Andrews' government, also outlined a ludicrous plan to have half the cars sold in Victoria be zero emission vehicles by 2030. But just proving there is no limit to how far you can go, in Spain they are looking to ban the sale of climate damaging internal combustion engines by 2040. And to make things even worse, all combustion engine cars will be banned from even driving after 2050. So your classics are done in. Now, Joel, I know I'm going to call you a lefty, but seriously, this is crazy, isn't it, mate?
Look, Corey, the Europeans can do what they like. I just want the Australian government to take the taxes off of electric vehicles here in Australia. We hit them with luxury car taxes.
All vehicles.
We hit them with the fringe benefits tax. I think there is merit in incentivising stronger take-up in electric vehicles. We are the slowest in the take-up in the world. And I'm pleased to see people focusing on the transport sector for a change, so that they can give the electricity generation sector a bit of a rest. Because if we're going to be serious about reducing emissions, it has to be economy wide. But you're going to be sure of one thing: no matter what happens, those great truckies that Tony Sheldon so well represented for so long will still be zooming up and down our national highways with diesel combustion engines.
Hang on,
it'll be a long time before we can replace those.
Well, okay, so there's a good point. Tony, you were Secretary of the Transport Workers Union for 14 or 15 years before you went to the Senate. Can you see a time, I mean, in the next 30 years, where the trucks in Australia will be able to be powered by electric batteries?
Well, I can't see that happening yet, because there isn't the capacity and the technology yet. But also, there's actually a deeper question too for a lot of owner-drivers, which make up a lot of the industry, small business operators as well with small fleets. They can't transition like that. If that was ever to occur here, the way the Europeans have done it, I will predict this: there'll be lots of protests in Europe, not against the fact that they want to reduce climate change emissions, but because there's a cost for those owner drivers that are trying to keep food on the table, look after their family, keep the truck on the road and keep it safe. They just won't be able to afford to go and make that transition like that.
The truckies do keep Australia open, right? Our rail network is not as good as perhaps the European. We don't have the population as concentrated as they do in these places. To pursue an agenda that is going to cripple our major transport industry would be crazy. Now, that's whether it's Liberal or Labor or Greens. I mean, how close did Labor come to doing that at the last election?
Look, I mean, I've always been in this. If you're going to make changes, then you have to turn around and make sure that you're looking after those people that are affected. And you've got to work out by looking after them whether it makes the change practical. And if it doesn't, you don't do it. I think that's sort of some of the tests. And for owner drivers, particularly in small business operators and small fleets in trucking, unless there's the monetary incentive for the change, and that raises some big questions about prices and where the tax dollars start and finish and those sorts of changes. So they're all critical questions, real important policy questions when you're making these changes.
And Matt Canavan, it's really easy for a member of parliament or a leader of a political party to come out with the cash for clunkers scheme, or we're going to be all driving digital electric vehicles, removing taxes that'll change everything, but they have real world consequences, don't they? And most people don't even think them through.
Well, Corey, you're absolutely right. I want to pick up Joel on something there. He wants to remove, and so does Anthony Albanese, wants to remove the luxury car tax from electric vehicles. So this means these electric cars, which cost $80,000, $90,000, $100,000, they're saying people who can afford a $90,000 car should get a tax advantage. And this shows where the Labor Party's gone here. It's chasing all these votes from inner city suburbs, not the working class areas, because the working class areas that I know here in Rockhampton that the Labor Party represent, people can't afford an $80,000 or $90,000 car. That's why they have a luxury car tax. And if electric cars want to get tax-free, they should become more efficient and be able to be sold below that threshold. The other point to make there is if we do that, we remove the luxury car tax on electric cars, what about farmers? Farmers are locked into buying often very expensive vehicles for their properties, like Land Cruisers and what have you. They've got to pay the tax as it stands at the moment. And that's the way it is, but why should woke inner city lefties get a tax but not the people who produce our food?
Okay.
And to say that electric cars are tax disadvantaged is ridiculous, because they don't pay excise, they don't pay fuel excise. You buy a petrol car, a diesel car, you pay excise, you pay for the upkeep of the roads. Electric cars get off scot-free.
Well, I kind of agree with Joel that the tax should be taken off electric vehicles, but it should also be taken off, this luxury car tax, off of all vehicles. I mean, it was in there to protect the Australian...
I'll go for that trade. If we do that, Corey, sign me up.
Abandon it. It was
sign
there
me
to...
up, but
it was there to
not one, not the other.
All right, now, okay. Are we on a unity ticket now, fellas? Joel,
Yeah,
you want
there you go.
Scott Morrison.
I think we're getting close.
We're getting close.
Scott Morrison's spending like there's no tomorrow. There's one more thing.
Might as well cut some more taxes. It's a good idea.
Let's build a unity ticket.